One of the things that the review really wanted to highlight, first and foremost, was the new match types that are included in the game.
For sure.
And particularly, the one that they really wanted to emphasize was this Bloodline Rules match. Now,
I'm assuming if you're a wrestling fan, you know what a Bloodline Rules match entails.
oh yeah, you know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah, well, basically the idea is that it mirrors what we see on WWE TV.
Right.
With the Bloodline.
Unpredictability.
Anything goes. Weapons are legal right from the get-go.
Yep.
Allies and opponents are constantly interfering.
It's a mess.
Yeah, so it's supposed to sort of like
Recreate that.
replicate that feeling of unpredictability and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think it seems like, playing this match on your own might not be as dynamic.
Right.
But the reviewer mentions that when you throw multiple players in the mix, it really comes alive.
Yeah, apparently each player can control like one of the interfering wrestlers.
Oh, that's fun.
So it's just like constant interference. And
Oh, that's a cool idea. Yeah.
yeah, so that sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
Moving on from the mayhem, the review also takes a look at MyRise.
Oh, yeah. One of the big modes in the game.
Yes, it's been significantly revamped this year.
It sounds like it.
And the major change is that they've unified the male and female career paths into a single storyline
Interesting.
called Mutiny.
Mutiny.
And so the idea is...
So what is it all about?
Yeah, so basically the idea is that NXT, which is WWE's developmental brand,
Right.
has basically decided that they are going to challenge the established order.
Wow.
And both current and returning NXT wrestlers are part of this storyline.
Oh, cool.
And they're invading Raw and SmackDown.
Nice.
And they mentioned a wide range of talent involved.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
So from, like Tony D'Angelo and Kevin Owens.
Okay. Some good current guys.
Yeah, to Bayley.
Yeah.
Even going back, they've got CM Punk and Becky Lynch.
Wow. A lot of big names.
Yeah. And the idea is that, like, Becky Lynch and CM Punk are sort of like, they're not necessarily opposed to NXT,
Sure.
but they're opposed to the methods of this particular...
Invasion.
Yeah.
That's a good way to include them.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty big storyline.
It's a big storyline. It's a huge shakeup to the WWE hierarchy
Right.
in the game.
Yeah.
And it's not just like a straight shot to the top or whatever.
Yeah.
The review highlights that there's like branching storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And there are decisions that you make as a player
Oh, cool.
that will affect the course of the story.
I like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a lot more narrative depth
That makes sense.
than in previous years.
So you can really carve your own path.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. So they're really trying to give you a sense of like, control over your career.
Right, like an RPG almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So what other changes did they make?
Well, one of the other changes is regarding intergender wrestling in MyRise.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And
I'm curious about this one.
yeah, so basically they have eased some of the previous limitations on intergender tag team matches.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're playing as Becky Lynch in a mixed tag team match
Right.
and your partner Kevin Owens tags out,
Yeah.
well, one of the other changes is regarding intergender wrestling in
Oh, so
MyRise.
you can keep going.
keep
Oh, okay,
going.
interesting. That makes a lot of
And,
sense. That's a big
I'm
improvement. I'm curious
And
about
the
this one.
reviewer mentions
Yeah,
a
so
specific
basically,
example where Becky Lynch
they
is just
have
like continuing to
eased some of the
punish Kevin
previous
Owens,
limitations
even
on
though her
intergender
partner is
tag
Zelina
team
Vega
matches.
Oh,
is tagged in.
For
So,
example,
so it adds a lot more freedom.
yeah,
if
it
you're
adds a
playing
lot
as
more
Becky Lynch
strategic
in a
freedom
mixed
Yeah.
and
tag team
realism
match,
Right.
to those types
And
of matches.
your partner Kevin Owens
So
tags out.
that's a
Yeah.
really cool
You're no
change.
longer
I think a lot of people will
immediately forced to tag
appreciate.
out the
Yeah.
opposing female wrestler.
However,
so you can keep going.
the review does have
makes
some
a lot of sense.
reservations about
That's a big
MyRise.
improvement. Really?
And the reviewer mentions
Specifically
this
the
specific
right
example.
Oh, okay.
So they acknowledge that the mutiny storyline is huge.
Yeah, yeah.
Like saving a company.
Whole brain invasion. Yeah, yeah.
It's a big deal.
But they felt that the writing quality was a step down from WWE 2K24,
Interesting.
and that it lacked that sort of personal connection
Oh,
that the MyRise storylines from 2K24 had.
I see.
And they offer a really good comparison to illustrate this point.
Okay.
They basically say, like, saving a company sounds like a big deal.
Yeah.
But the storyline in 2K24 where you're dealing with, like, the indie wrestling owner
Right.
and the WWE corporate machine
Right. felt more compelling because it was more about like human struggles.
Yeah, it's more relatable.
Yeah, and like the writing was better and all that.
So it was more personal.
Yeah, it was more personal.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. I can see that.
yeah, and then moving on to universe mode.
Oh yeah, universe mode.
Which is, the go-to for a lot of players who like to craft their own WWE reality.
It's the sandbox mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big,
So
big
it's new
price.
in that.
Well, the biggest addition to universe mode is promo segments.
Oh wow. Okay.
So now you can actually like have your wrestlers
promos.
cut promos on each other.
That's a big addition.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And like, build rivalries and all that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's fantastic for players who really want to like dive into the creative aspects.
For sure.
But there is a little bit of a catch.
What's that?
Apparently the depth of customization for those promo segments isn't quite where it was
Oh.
in some of the older games.
Like which ones?
They specifically mentioned WWE 2K14
Oh, 2K14. Okay.
as having like much deeper customization options for promos.
I see. So it's a step forward, but maybe not like a huge leap.
Yeah, it's like a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Not all the way there. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got MyGM mode.
MyGM mode.
So that's the mode where you step into the shoes of a general manager.
Right. You draft your roster.
Yeah, you run a show and all that.
Yeah.
And the main update for MyGM mode is
What is it?
online multiplayer.
Oh, finally. Yeah.
That's huge.
So you can finally go head to head against other players.
Okay.
As GMs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
But beyond that,
Yeah.
the reviews suggest that it's pretty much the same
As
as
the previous one.
previous years.
Okay.
So if you were hoping for some big changes to MyGM,
Yeah.
other than online multiplayer,
Right.
you're probably going to be disappointed.
Okay.
But I'm sure a lot of people have been asking for online for a long time.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, so good for them.
And then we have showcase mode,
Showcase mode.
which usually offers a historical retrospective on a particular wrestler or an era of wrestling.
Right.
What's the focus this time?
Well, this time it is the Bloodline Legacy.
Oh, wow.
So they're celebrating the history of Samoan wrestlers in WWE,
Interesting.
and they mention a variety of matches.
Like what?
Like going back to the Head Shrinkers versus the Steiner brothers from WrestleMania 9.
Okay.
The Usos versus the New Day from Hell in a Cell 2017.
Nice.
And they've even got like some alternate history.
Really?
Like 3-minute warning versus the Authors of Pain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But they do have some mixed feelings about this showcase mode as well.
Oh, what's the problem?
They say it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really capture the same level of intrigue or replayability as the last couple of years.
Okay.
So like the showcase modes from 2K22 and 2K23.
Which were focused on Rey Mysterio and John Cena, respectively.
Yeah, those were good.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah.
And I think the feeling is that because they're focusing on like a broad legacy
Right.
rather than a specific wrestler's career,
Yeah.
it ends up feeling more like just kind of like a general overview.
Right.
And less like a deep dive
Yeah, I can see that.
into like their key moments and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
So
Okay.
the review also mentions a pretty crucial point for PC players.
Oh.
Performance issues.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So the PC version of the game apparently has some pretty significant performance limitations.
What kind of limitations?
Well, the biggest one is a hard-coded frame rate cap of 60 frames per second.
Okay, so even if you have a good PC,
You're locked at 60.
you're locked at 60.
And even worse is that the frame rate automatically drops to 30
Oh, wow.
during what the game considers cinematic moments.
Well, like what kind of moment?
Like if you hit a suplex from the top rope, or like if you hit your finisher.
Really?
And the reviewer points out that this actually like detracts from the gameplay experience
Oh, that's bad.
rather than, making those moments feel more impactful.
Right.
So that's really bad.
Yeah.
And the performance limitations don't stop there.
Really?
The cutscenes are also capped at 30 FPS.
Oh, no.
So that includes like wrestler entrances
Okay.
and MyRise story sequences.
So like all the non-interactive stuff
yeah,
is
bakers,
locked at 30.
which is really jarring.
Especially for PC gamers who are used to higher frame rates.
Yeah, and they also mentioned that the PC version has a limited range of graphic settings.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
So it seems like the PC version might not have been a priority during
Yeah.
development.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So all in all, it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, so that when you take it all in, it's like
2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, it's got some great new stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's also some stuff that's, like, kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
You know?
So, like, what do they say in their final assessment?
Well, basically, they use that analogy.
Okay.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
And they say the steps forward are, like, you know, the new match types.
Right.
Particularly the Bloodline Rules match.
Yeah.
The ambitious scope of MyRise.
Sure.
And the historical focus of the showcase mode.
Okay.
But then the step back is like the weaker writing in MyRise.
Yeah.
The showcase mode that's not quite as engaging.
Right.
And then obviously the PC performance issues.
Yeah.
So.
It's a shame about the PC port.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, so it's kind of like.
So what would you say are the big takeaways for someone who's thinking about picking this game up?
I would say that, you know, if you're looking for like a wrestling game that's like really innovative and tries new things,
yeah,
this might be the game for you.
Yeah.
But you also have to be aware that there are these potential downsides,
right,
that might detract from the overall experience.
Sure.
And it's really going to depend on what you prioritize in a wrestling game.
Right.
You know, some people might not care so much about the writing in MyRise. They might just want to like play the matches.
Right. Have fun with their friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, and of course, if you're on PC, you've got to consider those performance issues.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right.
That's a big one. So I guess the final thought for you, our listener, is does the allure of these new features outweigh the potential frustrations?
Right.
You know, it really comes down to like what you're looking for.
Yeah. What's important to you in a wrestling game?
Yeah. Is it those like crazy multiplayer moments? Is it the deep career mode?
Right.
Is it reliving wrestling history?
Yeah.
Is it a smooth and like consistently high-performing game?
It could be any of those things.
Yeah, and you know...
What about you?
I think for me personally, I'm a little bit hesitant.
Yeah.
Because of the performance issues.
Yeah, especially on PC.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And also, like, I really enjoyed the MyRise storylines from last year.
Yeah.
So if they've taken a step back in terms of the writing...
Yeah.
That's not a good sign for me.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, hey, maybe they'll patch it.
Maybe?
You never know.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's our deep dive into WWE 2K25.
Yeah, hopefully that gave you a better idea of what to expect.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.